Welcome to America's Heroes Group.
Welcome back to America's Heroes Group with our roundtable and familiar partner, the Veterans Legislative Voice, and our ASU correspondent, Stephanie Kalota. September is National Suicide Prevention and Hispanic Heritage Month. Today is Saturday, September 9th, 2023, my mom's birthday. Happy birthday, Ma. Our host is Kelley. I'm Sean Claiborne, the co-host. Our executive producer is Glenda Smith, and our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega of Scouts Honor Productions. And we have our partner with us and our correspondent, Stephanie Kalota, U.S. Army Reserve Sergeant First Class. She is a veteran and the founder and creator of the Veterans Legislative Voice. And, of course, once again, our ASU correspondent. And we're talking about Tuberville again. Tuberville, our legislator out wherever he's at, I think he's in Texas. We're going to learn about that. A personal political agenda against abortion has become a national security issue. What is going on with that topic? What's going on with that?
Hey, yeah, so, yes, it's Senator Tommy Tuberville from Alabama. He was actually the former Auburn football coach. My sister went to Auburn. It's probably the only reason why I know that one. And, he is holding out on pretty much agreeing or to vote for all of the military appointees. And at this point, we're at over 300 military members or service members that are waiting to be appointed by Congress. And one of the reasons why it's just this one holdout is because the rules in the Senate that's been like that for at least the past decade, probably more, but in my research, at least the past decade, that it requires a unanimous decision, where basically a yes or a no, and it has to be everyone in that body has to say yes. So if you have one holdout, it's going to stop everything. And the thing is that this has not happened anywhere in time for military members. There's been a few holdouts from other senators for other positions, other public appointee places, but not for the military. This is typically very just for formal proceedings and just, to check the block. This has never really happened before. And right now we have 3 services that are missing their chief, their military person in charge. And it can cause a lot of stress on the military itself because at least for the Army, they've put in the policy of the acting positions. Those in the military kind of know that term. An acting position is basically you're assigned to the position informally and you're acting in it. And very often when you're in those type of positions, you're doing 2 jobs. You're doing the job you originally had and then also the job that you were appointed to have. And so you are splitting your time and responsibilities, and so the quality of work can decrease greatly. A lot of times for these separate services, the chiefs in charge are the deputies. So they're doing their deputy position and the one in charge.
And that's never a good thing. We've seen this a lot in the military, actually. It seems like it's been going on. Even in Illinois, we had this problem where people are doing dual roles, even at the top, because it wasn't for a while, or the Secretary of the Army, wasn't he like a dual role person? Or I can't remember. This was years ago, because we had a couple of rotating chairs. It seems like people just coming in and getting fired, or coming in and quitting. When a guy, I remember there was some impropriety they alleged with him, and then he had to leave. So why is this a trend seemingly today in the military? Well,
it's because of Roe v. Wade and it being rescinded by the Dobbs decision, Mississippi, their sister state, that actually caused the whole process. And so the military came up with a policy to which I think a lot of the points of the policy is amazing. Allows a walk-in contraceptive clinic for military members and their dependents. So anytime they can go and get the Plan B, they can get the regular pill. They could start getting all the other contraceptives that they need. The other part of it is allowing time off and travel expenses for the reproductive care that they cannot receive in where they are stationed. Now, for the people that don't know in the military, if you're active duty, you have zero choice. Very, very less likely you're going to have a choice on where you get stationed. So you can be stationed in Alabama and you can be in a place where they have a 6-week abortion ban, and you find yourself pregnant and you are in that type of position. What I have learned about the policy recently is that one of the things that Tuberville is really frustrated, angry about, is that the travel expenses are being reimbursed, even if the reproductive health services, like i.e. an abortion, are not covered in the exceptions of the Hyde Amendment. And the Hyde Amendment came from the early 90s, saying that federal funding will not be used for abortion services, just the abortion services, unless the pregnancy was result from rape, incest, or it causes health and welfare of the mother. Well, the thing is that the military is covering the travel expenses for the abortions, despite what the circumstances are. They're only covering the travel. Just the payment for the non-covered abortion services is still on the person, the mother, that would receive those services. So it's a little bit of an argument of legality here.
Okay, so to clarify, he's upset that that there's taxpayer money being used for travel to a state to get an abortion when the state that you're in does not allow abortion.
Yes, and the thing is that you have no choice where you live, where you're stationed, and the military pays for you to go there. So a lot of people that are for this policy, well, the government also pays for you to get back home when you're end your contract with the Army or military or Navy or what have you. So providing the travel expenses to go to a place that allows the services is the same, basically. It would be some sort of equaling out pretty much the burden of living in a state that has a 6-week ban.
And then, but also to be clear also as well, because of the military policy as it stands and how it's been for a long time, which is a lot more strict than the civilian world anyway, before the Dodd decision, was that basically an abortion, correct me if I'm wrong, abortion was for situations where the mother's life is in danger, maybe a rape or incest situation. So it's not like, oops, I got pregnant, I want an abortion. It's more about it has to do with the life and safety of the woman who got pregnant, and or something horrible had happened that put this particular soldier or airman or sailor in a bad situation because of no fault really of that person's own actions. Really, that person really didn't have a control over what the situation is at this moment, but they're trying to just live and get over something that they didn't choose. They did not, participate in per se. Yes,
and it's a very frustrating issue that's come around because being someone of the military, there's a lot of rights that you don't have. So having the lack of access to things, living in a place you didn't choose, all these things can cause a lot of stress. And this affects, here I've got the numbers at least from 2021, over 230,000 women served in the military. They account for about 17% of the active duty forces. And then according to their research, 5.6% of service women do report unintended pregnancies annually. And when a female service member becomes pregnant, they're automatically non-deployable. There's a lot of things that are pretty much put in place for the safety of the female service member, but it's also can cause some stress and some complications when it comes to trying to meet missions and tasks and making sure that the unit is still able to operate and everything. I mean, imagine a very high leader like a first sergeant, a female first sergeant, becomes pregnant unintentionally. I mean, it's really difficult to have to deal with losing time with that one person with the leadership. You're losing mentorship time. You're losing a lot of different things, training, and it can cause a lot of stress on the unit and cause negative effects on the unit. So in a way, providing the reproductive service care can still help the unit maintain pretty much the operating status that they have.
Mm-hmm. But then getting back to the other side of the whole debate, which is people are concerned about the life of the child. You know, is this a living person or not a living person? And many court cases where a criminal or a murderer has murdered a pregnant woman and they got double homicide. They were charged with double homicide because they killed the pregnant woman. But in this particular situation, it's understandable that if a woman gets pregnant and they're in a leadership role, that if they have the decision they want to raise a family and they have a child to take care of, and if there's nobody else to take care of that child, that they have to maybe not be deployed, because it's better. I would argue it's better for them not to be deployed, to be at home with their baby, be at home with their family, or God forbid they don't come back home if they were deployed and they have a child at home, particularly if they're a single parent. How does give us a little more background into the current law or current rules according to the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is the legal parameters of the military, and how that defines when an abortion can be obtained by a person who gets pregnant, when he gets pregnant.
Well, the military should, and they would, provide abortion services when, of course, as we said, the exceptions for the health and wealth of the mother, rape and incest. Domestic violence is a very big thing now in the military, and it's getting out there. There has been a long string of deaths by service members to their spouses, either as civilian spouses or military spouses, and majority of those instances evolve around a pregnancy. And so one of those things, when I think about a service member or a dependent in a relationship and they do become pregnant, one of the reasons why they go for an abortion, especially if they're in a toxic relationship and domestic violence in the home, they do it and they don't meet the requirements or the exceptions that's given by the military per the Hyde Amendment, that the women there cannot get an abortion even though they're trying to escape from a toxic situation.
And then also, what would you like to see happen? What is Tuberville's? He just wants to eliminate the funding for travel. Is that his only sticking point? Is it, if that happens, does the whole thing go away? Does the whole controversy go away, or what else is he asking for?
Well, there's been mostly around just because of the travel expenses, but my fear is that it would also be for the contraceptive walk-in clinic care that I talked about in the beginning, is that I worry that would also become involved, and the funding for that will also be removed. So that's one of my things that I am personally worried about, because that's one of the things of people from his group, that Tuberville's group and those on the pro-life side are also against providing contraceptives, or the Plan B pill and things like that, or the abortion pill that can be used later. They have issues with those things. So that would be one of my fears that would get lumped in on the big disagreement that happens. This isn't the first time senators have become upset and wanting to protest for something that's happened within the military. So there was many senators that were against the lifting of the transgender ban that happened during the Obama administration. But the thing is that they didn't hold back promotions for that. They just introduced bills, made sure that they could submit it in, and try to get it passed. Do it the way that they're supposed to do constitutionally, is to submit a bill to try to get the law passed. And Tuberville knows that he has a losing fight if he goes that route. Mm-hmm. And since he can, by himself, stop everything on this is basically him being able to do that, and that is his one way that he thinks he can. Some news reporters have actually compared it to a toddler having a temper tantrum and holding their breath. Wanted to at least reference that for you guys as an image there of what this situation is kind of like. It's because he doesn't have the power to actually get the law passed to stop the military from doing this.
And to me, it seems like from his strategy and the way he's taken this, and this is not the first time this happened, it almost reminds me of McCarthyism. I mean, and not so much that even McCarthy believed in the crap he was saying. It's just that they're just trying to grandstand to make a political statement, maybe a political run to get some spotlight on that person so they can enhance their political career or do one for the home team, your political party, but then bite off more than you can chew because you maybe picked the wrong fight or didn't think through your strategy or what you're actually fighting for. You thought you picked on something that was a hot topic. You thought people would get behind it because our people don't like abortion, so I'm going to do this, and I'm going to find out. So look over here. We got abortion over there, so we're going to attack that, but not really understanding what you're actually attacking.
Yeah, and it's funny that you referenced the McCarthyism because back then, communism was hot button word that's used, especially towards those of their enemies or opponents, especially political opponents. Now the word is woke, and Tuberville
there's a lot of them. It's not even just woke. Yeah. Woke is a way to think now. Woke is the catch-all phrase that's been kind of appropriated by certain
for everything they don't like.
Everything they don't like. So it's abortion. That's because of wokeism. It rained today because of wokeism. The woke God made it rain. So everything is bad that happens in the world is because somebody woke up. So I guess evidently because they did something dumb they weren't supposed to do. So, but then it takes away from the real conversation of trying to solve the problem. So you're just jumping on a bandwagon to rally your troops, so to speak, and then in the process confusing your own troops because they don't even know what the hell you're trying to say.
Nope. Well, they think they hear woke. They hear it's things that they don't like, or they don't. And a lot of followers and supporters don't question that and don't look into what he's actually saying. I've caught a few of the right-leaning military and veterans news media has been calling it basically Tuberville's crusade against wokeism on this situation. I'm like, no. That's not what's happening here. And a lot of people jump on that. And they're like, yeah, he's fighting against the woke. And one of the examples Tuberville made that, that's showing that the military is now woke is because somebody read a poem on a loudspeaker of a ship. And I'm like, the Bible is filled with poetry.
Right. It's called a book of songs.
And you quote the Bible all the time. So that you can't have both. I'm sorry.
And then the stretch or the concern is, which I understand for your perspective, is where they might attack contraception, which once again, is that really logical? Does it really make any real sense to go that far? I'm not sure if has he ever said anything along those lines about attacking contraception. I know that's part of the package in a lot of the far right when you talk about abortion, and also some parts of the conservative right don't want to even have anybody or don't want to have any kind of public funding of contraception because they think that is bad, which that to me makes no sense because that you're not talking about taking somebody's life, you're talking about now just changing your biology to get out of to make sure you don't get into a situation where we're having a debate about when does life begin, when is it okay to have an abortion, when is it not okay to have an abortion. I don't have the answer to that question. I don't know if I trust somebody else's answer to that question at this point.
Yeah, well, the thing is that he lumps the entire policy together, so it's really difficult to understand what's going on there. And then, I won't go down a few other routes on that with his public speaking, but the DoD has said that they've tried to negotiate with him and try to come to a understanding or compromise, and that hasn't been reached yet. And I worry about the contraceptives personally because I'm one of those that takes contraceptives not to prevent pregnancies, but for another medical reason.
Right.
A third of women that use contraceptives actually use it for non-birth control reasons. Yep. And so that's very important for a lot of women, especially when you're in the military and you have all of these missions that are happening. And Senator Duckworth talks about it a lot. She was actually encouraged in the beginning of the Operation Iraqi Freedom, she was encouraged to take these contraceptives to stop her having the periods because they're not sure if they would actually be able to make sure she has the sanitary goods that's needed when she has a cycle. And so they put her in this position for the mission, but they will not accept or help them in the other side, stateside. So it's one of those things of, you asked me to put myself in this, but now you're asking me to do no. No. So it's just one of those perspectives. And what I really worry is about Senator Tuberville just doesn't understand what's really going on in the military, what is needed and what's not needed. And it can be really stressful for a lot of people. One of the additional things is that we just finished with the summer. Summer is one of the biggest times that the military moves people around because it's easiest because kids are off of school. And we just left that time period. And very few people actually experience moving outside of that time frame. And then you're going to hopefully approve people to get into their positions again. And then they would have to move, because majority of the time you will have to move for a position as high as what we're talking about. And so you're upsetting kids' lives. The ones that are still living is the ones that you're actually impacting now.
And then when do you see this conversation die? Now, right now it's a hot topic. A lot of people have been written about this, are kind of fading away from this topic because they see it as kind of like a moot point at this at this stage of the game. When do you see this Tuberville's agenda or tirade kind of going away?
We're not quite sure. I have seen some movement and talk about House Democrats, and it's probably going to leak over to the Senate Democrats to actually amend the rule about the unanimous decision and actually go back to a 50-50 or 51-49 or a 60-40 voting requirement. And so it might come down to that. So that's one of the things that's starting to be in the conversation. We just got back out of recess for the Senate. I believe the House starts again on Monday, and we'll start seeing how things go from there. If Tuberville keeps this up, by the end of the year, it will be over 600 people that will be having their promotions held up because of this.
Wow.
600 positions in the military. So you're thinking there's another 600 people doing more than their actual jobs, which can cause so much stress in those positions and cause so much threat to the military's readiness.
Thank God we're not in a war right now. So.
Yeah, or two wars.
Right, exactly. I mean, and these are 600 leadership positions across the United States we're talking about, not just 600 leadership positions in Alabama or in one specific area across the military, which is,
right.
that is pretty catastrophic.
Yes, it is, and it's pretty scary. I mean, for the Army Reserves themselves, there's less than 30 different divisions. So just that small of a number. Just think about that with active duty, times that about 5 or 6, and you might be near that number. So you could actually see a quarter or a third of all command positions being vacant by the end of the year.
Wow.
Is what my estimate would be. I might be thinking too high, but to me, that's my worry.
Very serious stuff. Now, September is National Suicide Prevention Month. I wanted to get your thoughts on this, particularly when it comes to females in the military. We need a couple minutes we have left because we're about to run out of time just about that. But this in a minute. What can you tell us, and what does this month mean to you as far as what the military could be doing to help, particularly women who have suicide ideation or are thinking about suicide, who are veterans?
One of the biggest things that I'll say what I'm most excited about that I've been seeing is the acceptance of mental health treatments, and people learning new words and new terms that can actually help identify the situation that they're in. More people are understanding what a toxic relationship, toxic leadership, how abuse and mental and emotional abuse can affect a person. I was able to find research way back when on how toxic leaders can actually cause PTSD of their own subordinates. And so these types of conversations are finally getting out there and understood, and hopefully it can actually cause some really great conversations to make things easier for the next service members and for our veterans to actually identify what's been wrong in their past, because that helps them heal themselves.
Thanks for your conversation, Stephanie. I really appreciate that. Don't go anywhere because I'm wrapping up the show and I want you to be on the air with me when I wrap it up. So I'm going to let you say goodbye to all the veterans out there across the country. Stephanie Kalota, U.S. Army Reserve Sergeant First Class when she served. Now she's a veteran, the founder and creator of Veterans Legislative Voice If you have any questions or concerns and want to get more information about anything we talked about, you can email us at info@americashd.org. Also, feel free to call us at 312-803-2618. That's 312-803-2618. And of course, our website is americashd.org. We have a ton of information on our YouTube page and our Facebook page to go back and research any of the topics we talked about today. We want to hear your opinions, so make sure you reach out and not just like and subscribe, but give your thoughts on what we've talked about. If you have any questions about anything that we have discussed, anything you need as veterans or even people who love or care about or live with veterans, reach out to us. We love to hear your voice and love to hear what your thoughts are. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again next Saturday from 4 to 6 p.m. on YouTube, our YouTube station, our Facebook page, and also, of course, WVO1 AM 1690 here in the Chicagoland area. And Stephanie, take us out.
All right. Well, thank you guys for this wonderful time, and you guys have a happy September. Keep everybody in happy thoughts. Call your friends if you are in help. Call your buddies to check in on them, and just have a great time.
This is America's Heroes Group. We'll see you next week. Be safe.